Over the last month and a half, there have been massive developments in two different court cases filed against CMS, also known as the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and the Department of Health and Human Services, the organization and government body that oversees CMS and CMS is a part of. These two lawsuits were filed in Texas federally with a federal judge against CMS, challenging the validity and their legal ability to be able to actually put the CMS final rule that passed months ago at this point into effect. There's a lot of details that have to do with this court case. I'm going to tell you what development actually transpired on July 5th that is having a massive domino effect that will massively affect this AEP for carriers, FMOs, and brokers alike. So first off, what is the final rule? Well, if you've been under a rock in this industry, CMS has been passing on a yearly basis over the past 3 years since our current presidential administration took office and they appointed a new head of CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We have grown accustomed to seeing a yearly final rule pass, which essentially is meant to tighten the screws and pass more regulation, more rules, and more hoops for us to jump through to do business in the Medicare industry as a whole. It started in year one with call recordings and a bunch of other things, but call recordings was the highlight of that one, essentially meaning that brokers were required to record all calls, which later got pulled back to just mean sales calls, but record all calls and store them for 10 years. A lot of agents, especially agents that were boots on the ground, individual guys, people that were one-man show organizations that still went to people's houses, that still sat at the kitchen table, that still did a lot of business through their cell phone, were not prepared for that type of ruling to be passed. The next final rule brought a huge array of different items, but the most notable one that people are going to remember the most is the return of the 48-hour scope of appointment rule, meaning that a scope of appointment needs to be signed 48 hours prior to any sales conversation or appointment about sales regarding specific plan details, specific carrier benefits for Medicare Advantage and Part D prescription drug plans, okay? Then this year, this long-anticipated final rule drops, okay? They actually put information out publicly of a proposal back at the end of the year in quarter 4 of 2023. This proposal essentially goes through that they are trying to find ways to eliminate additional broker compensation, things like health risk assessment payments, things like marketing dollars and co-op, things like overrides to the writing agent. Now, based on everyone I've talked to that would be in the know and my connections, and myself as well, the way I read it, and also talking to legal experts that I'm in connections with, nobody actually was reading this proposal as if overrides would be going away entirely. It was supposed to just be additional compensation for the agent or broker who is writing the application. And the way things stand currently, if an agent or broker has a high enough contract on the Medicare Advantage side, they can make their commission and override in addition to the sale, which can essentially cause things to be a little wonky in terms of the compensation of it. And that's the argument that CMS has made, okay? So they passed this proposal, then fast forward until about 2 or 3 months ago at the time of actually recording this video, they passed the final rule. And the final rule is this massive, humongous, over 1,000-page document of legal jargon and gobbledygook, right? Not only that, once legal experts had the chance to even dig through it, there was a massive, massive array of unclarity, confusion, and contradictions in the document. So what we were seeing is carriers asking for clarification from CMS. And being given some, but not being given much at all in terms of what they're actually asking for in terms of clarity. The problem here lies, and I've said this before on this channel, CMS does not have a very good grasp over our business at all. CMS doesn't understand what an FMO is. CMS doesn't understand the purpose of an override. CMS does not understand hierarchy, the need for hierarchy, and where it all fits into the puzzle. CMS has a very, very finite and limited understanding of the Medicare insurance distribution industry. which make up everybody that has to do with distribution of products: carriers, FMOs, agents, agencies, etc., right? Call centers, you name it, right? So anyway, fast forward to July 5th in these two court cases and these lawsuits going against CMS. The court issues what's known as a stay. So what is a stay? Well, a stay in legal terms, to my best of my understanding, now again, I am no legal expert, but my understanding is that this stay prevents the final rule from being put into effect until the conclusion and the final decision of the court case, assuming that the court case determines that CMS has the authority to put it into place at all. So there's two types of questions that actually... This video is sponsored by none other than Hire Heroes, you guys. Hire Heroes should be at the top of your list when considering your virtual assistant needs. Let's face it, today, hiring employees and hiring staff for your business is harder than ever and more expensive than it's ever been before. And when you're a new up-and-coming business in particular, or even if you're an established business, sometimes the squeeze of the financials of hiring somebody stateside can be incredibly challenging. What Hire Heroes brings to you is an ability to tap into their best of the best team members that you can plug into your business for very affordable prices. One thing about finding and hiring VAs completely on your own is it can get a little sketchy because you don't always know who you're getting and who's working for you. The great thing also about Hire Heroes is they've gone through and done the work for you of vetting the people that you're going to be working with, and the people that you are assigned are only the best of the best and the shining examples of excellence within the company. So you know you're getting top tier talent and you don't have to go through any of the time or headache of vetting people and trying out multiple people to get there. There's a link down in the description so you guys can learn more about Hire Heroes and getting help for your business today. Are born out of this, right? One, is it possible that the final rule does not go into effect, period? It is possible. But two, is it also possible that it is going to go into effect? It's a matter of when, not a matter of if. And this court case is meant to push it into next year so there's more time to prepare before AEP. Because the biggest argument is, with so much confusion, so much uncertainty, and so much lack of clarification from CMS due to their not having a good grasp and understanding of our industry, it was going to make AEP, for everybody involved, consumers too, a shit show. Not only that, this is an AEP where many consumers are affected due to the Inflation Reduction Act and massive disruption and plan changes across the entire nation. This is not going to be a normal AEP, and throwing on regulations that no one quite really has a firm grasp on what they are does not help things at all. In fact, it makes it a nightmare for everybody involved. So those are the two questions. Number one, is it possible that this final rule never passes and never sees the light of day in terms of what it actually looks like? It could be. Number two, is this actually a means to an end, but it's meant to kick the can down the road and pick this up in 2025? Only time will tell in the developments of this court case, and as we learn more, we will bring them to you on this channel. But what we have seen, without naming any specific names, there have been several carriers that have communicated publicly and some that have communicated to us privately that they are planning on this AEP to be business as usual, mainly due to the fact that since the stay has been put into place, legally, CMS cannot put into motion any of these rules and regulations, so things will be what they have been the last couple of years, meaning HRAs should come back with several carriers. There actually were some carriers also that did not even remove them. A lot of them did, some of them did not. Marketing dollars for some carriers may still be in play. You'll have to speak with your FMO and your carrier reps to get the specific details on that. That part of it is still a little fuzzy, but there should be some situations where marketing dollars and co-op can still be on the table. Overrides should not have any change in structure of any kind. So this AEP can be thought of as business as usual. Okay. A lot of people were reporting that this was an injunction in the court case. It was not an injunction, it was a stay, which was pointed out to me when I was saying it was an injunction in one of our Facebook groups by one of our moderators, which essentially they're very similar to each other, but a stay essentially means that it's being put on hold, it's being paused, until they can get to the bottom of this in the court case. What does this mean for you? I've seen some agents post and comment in various different forums about how part of the final rule was going to increase broker street level compensation to essentially alleviate some of the things that might have been provided from your FMO or additional compensation. That means that extra $100 an app, an extra commission on PDP plans won't be taking effect at least now. Now, is that a good thing for brokers? Is it a bad thing for brokers? Well, I think if you're contracted under an FMO that you don't feel like brings any value to you, it could be argued as a good thing. But I would argue for all agents, if you really look at it, it's a bad thing from the standpoint that part of the final rule was limiting the amount of money that FMOs could provide in the form of technology to their agents. It was looked at as additional compensation, right? Incentives, things along that nature, which includes, guess what? Medicare Center, Sunfire, Connecture, CSG Actuarial, a CRM if you have one, a Go High Level CRM like we provide. All of these things were in question in terms of could they really be provided to the agent? And there was not really a clear answer up until this court case anyway. But if you look at the costs for Sunfire, Connecture on their own, if an agent wanted to go out and pick up their own contract and pick up their own Connecture, it would be a huge amount of money every single year. Those things alone, even if your FMO provides you nothing and gives you those, are worth giving up the extra compensation. Anybody that doesn't see it that way, to me, is incredibly short-sighted and doesn't see the forest for the trees of what your FMO actually is providing to you. And I guarantee you, there's a lot of things behind the scenes, tools that you're not thinking about, tools that you're taking for granted that they do for you now that you could be in danger of losing. It's not worth it for an extra $100 an app and $50 extra on the renewal. So that is what's going on. This is a massive development in the CMS final rule. We'll bring you more details as we have them on this court case, but we wanted to bring you this information as soon as we possibly could. We hope that you find this information as good news. Ask any questions that you'd like on this video, comment them down below, and we'll do our best to answer them if we have that information. If you found this video helpful and you feel like every Medicare agent in the country needs to hear this information and needs to see this video breaking down what's happening, the way you can help that happen and make that a possibility is by smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's going to help so many more agents like you who are in desperate need of information and they're lost find our content, find our information, and get some guidance. Also, make sure you subscribe. We put out weekly videos to help you grow your business in a real practical way. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Here's to your success and your abundance, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.